Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world, dear viewer. Compact and bijou at the moment. That's what they say, compact and bijou. Bruce, myself, and Justina. Justina is from Wingtra, and they have just launched. You've just launched a new machine today.
Yes, exactly.
WingtraOne RTK. What does that mean?
PPK, actually.
PPK. Oh, it's all going wrong. All going horribly wrong.
So
what does that mean?
I can quickly just introduce. So we are doing the professional VTOL drone, which is meant for aerial data collection for mapping and surveying. So now we're launching a new product, which is WingtraOne PPK, and PPK stands for post-process kinematics, which means that the location data of our collected images is corrected, and it's more precise than the GPS. And that's why with WingtraOne PPK, we can collect extremely precise data. And I can illustrate it with an example, for example. So when we map an area, let's say, of 240 American football fields, we can still zoom in water on the ground, and we would also be able to know the exact coordinates of that water on the ground in the field. So that's basically our new technology. But maybe important also to note is that our drone is VTOL, which means that it takes off and lands vertically, but flies in the air as a fixed-wing aircraft. So basically, our drone combines the best features of both multi-rotors and fixed wings. So as multi-rotors, we can take off and land everywhere, no matter what the terrain is, no matter if there's rocks or it's very concise, because we take off vertically, right? As for example, fixed wings cannot do it because they usually either land on their bellies. So on, let's say, rocky terrain, they kind of crash a bit every time. We don't do it. But then on the other side, as a fixed wing, we can also cover large areas, which, for example, multirotors cannot do. So basically what is new in our launch is that we combine VTOL technology with PPK. And that has never happened before in the drone world.
Are you sure? I better check that. Are you really, really sure? I'm very interested that you used a reference of American football pictures. Why did you come up with that? It's a very and a quarter size. It's a very interesting references. And can it fly 240 American football pictures?
Yes. So actually, Reuters featured our story today. And as we know, Reuters is a publishing source for broad audience. And we realized that we cannot describe such numbers for regular people in like, we can cover 100 hectares at this and this accuracy. That's why we came up with this example that, for example, ordinary people would relate to. That's why we counted how much we can cover and then turned it into football fields. And that's why we decided to communicate it like that.
Okay, that's very cool. So what is that in hectares then? What is that? Because I have no idea how big an American football pitch is.
So let me just quickly check.
Sorry.
It's 130 hectares or 320 acres.
Okay. So you can do that in a single. I think it's actually dual batteries, isn't it? But anyway, in one flight, and your camera is going to work long enough for that. What sort of camera are you using to take those images?
So our best camera is now Sony RX1 II, which is a full-frame 42 megapixel camera. So actually, as VTOL, we can allow ourselves to carry heavier cameras, which is much better quality than, for example, now established competition. So that's what we are also very happy about. because the pictures our drone takes, they're really extreme resolution. So the example I said about the quarter on the football fields, we can also actually have this map of 240 football fields and still see, so zoom in that particular quarter and see it clearly on the ground, which is, we're also kind of proud of that.
That's a very big claim. I think people are going to try and debunk that.
Well, actually, we have proof on our website. Now, today we also launched our new website. We were working on it for quite some time. So we have, on our download section, we have available sample data sets. So everyone can go and check for themselves. We have sample pictures, we have maps. Everything is available to check. So maybe sometimes claims can sound empty, but we actually have all the data to back it up.
That's very fair. You can't argue with that. What about the because your VTOL is a tail sitter? What about the perennial problem with tail sitters that's blowing over? What's the wind limits on it?
Wind limits. Okay, as I said before our talk, I'm not the most technical person, so I will quickly check again. But we as well recently put a video on our YouTube channel, which shows WingtraOne, how WingtraOne flies in the wind. And give me just a moment.
And Justina, can I ask you something unrelated to the wind?
Sure.
At what height do you operate?
Just a moment. I want to find one document and then I can answer. So the heights, we actually can choose between a range of height. I think what we start is usually 70 meters is all right, and then of course go up. I'm still trying to find the wind. I'm sorry.
Well, no worries. Don't worry if it's hard to find. And I'm sure it'll all be on your website, and people can dive off and go and find that. So that's what you should do. Maybe you should tell us exactly where your website is, so they could go off and do that. And I'll put it below when we've finished.
So yes, our website is very easy to find. It's www.wingtra.com. Yes, and there you can find everything. So basically, we have a section about our drone. We also have a section about our cameras, because we carry not only one camera there. We also carry a multi-spectrum camera for precision agriculture and a bit simpler cameras for less for surveys as well. But as I mentioned, with RX1, 2, we can offer the highest resolution. Also, Wingtra has its own flight planning software, which also has a section on our website. And on the download section, as I mentioned, there's all the tech specs available and
what
all
sort of
the
price?
sample data sets.
What sort of prices are we looking for? Both the basic non-PPK and the PPK one. What price range are we looking at here?
So usually this question is quite hard to answer, but I can say that the simplest version starts at $20,000 and then it kind of grows up once you choose once you customize a drone, because we have, as I said, 4 different cameras from which also add up different pricing on it. Then it comes PPK on top. Also, there are some accessories to choose between, and I would say it ranges from 20 to 30 plus.
Okay, and in the comments we've got the operating winds. It's up to 12 meters a second in the cruise and 8 meters a second, 18 miles an hour for landing. So there we are. Vacon 644. Probably one of your team, I'm guessing. Or maybe not. I don't know. But thank you very much for that. Okay.
I also found some more information about height. So we can also, so for example, combining with coverage, we can cover 390 hectares, for example, at 240 meters altitude. And
my question was more related to the issue of the height limits of 120 meters for unmanned aviation.
In which country it is? I think it varies
all
in the
over
country.
the world. All over the world.
Okay, so I'm not an expert in this. So I could comment that so far we comply with the regulations and we didn't have much problems. So I would suppose we can fly in that height.
Yes, but you can, but you have to get special permissions. That's
yes,
the problem.
So we always fly only where it's allowed, and where we have to get the permissions, we get them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could unpack a little bit where you're based and the history. Why did you end up with a tail sitter? Normally it's starting a little bit complex, isn't it?
So actually, we're based in Switzerland, Zurich, and the whole project was born in Zurich University. Yes, exactly. In the robotics laboratory. It actually started very early in 2012, and at that time it was only a master's or PhD project, I'm not sure at this moment, and it rolled out later. 4 people joined in together, so our current founders, all of them were from the engineering side, and in 2016 they established a company, and since then we were developing the product. We launched first one last year in the beginning. So entered the market and started selling and making partnerships. And now this year we're launching a second version.
So you're still based on using the PX4 flight stack, right?
Yes, we are based on it, but we actually developed our own software.
Okay.
I'm a little bit afraid to comment on here.
That's fine. It's a very tidy looking setup, all going into a bag. It looks very easy to transport and things like that. There was a lot of time, I'm guessing a lot of time was put into that.
Surely. I mean, we invested quite some time in development overall. So as I said, it started in 2012 and we launched with everything in 2017. So I would say that the last couple of years were actually being dedicated for the development of everything. And it still continues because...
But I think I didn't put that very well. I think what I was trying to say was it looks tidy and well thought out in the packages and packaging and stuff like that. Okay. That's sort of something that's quite often forgotten in this sort of world, is how are we going to transport it to wherever. And so I sort of wanted to commend you guys on that. I think it does look very tidy, the way it all goes together. I didn't put that very well. Bruce, you've been very quiet over there, Bruce. Have you got nothing to add to this?
No, it's all very straightforward and very clear. Why would I need to add anything?
Well, because I'd like you to, to make things obscure and less clear. That's your job here.
No, you can't troll me. No, that all sounds good.
Very good. Now, look, I think you're a bit strapped for time, Justina. I don't know, are you okay for time to keep going, or what do you want to do?
I think I have a couple more minutes if you have any more questions.
Well, what's it made of? It's quite hard to tell. It looks a little bit like it's plastic. And why did you go from a square wing to a little bit more Spitfire style wing? Just it was squared to start with, and it's a bit more rounded now.
So this is quite hard to answer for me. I believe it has to do something with aerodynamic aerodynamics, as well as some style. We also put a lot of thought into the design of the drone, the color. We also wanted to kind of keep it to stand it out of the crowd, and really thought through all the materials we use. Actually, made of the shell is made out of fiberglass.
Polycarbonate.
No. Oh, now I'm a bit lost.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yes, glass fiber. Actually, yes, glass fiber. Sorry. Yes, it's made out of glass fiber. It's not plastic, just, but yes.
And then also being asked in the comments, what are the flight times like?
So we say it's up to an hour, but it very much depends on how long you fly in hover mode, because, for example, you can just play around and fly in hover mode all the time. So then it would be shorter because it takes eats the most of battery. But if you set the mission just for takeoff, mapping, and then landing, then it's up to an hour.
Okay. No, it's very good. No, it does look a very tidy platform, and I wish you well with it, and I'd be interested to see where it goes. I think you're only moving now with, I think AeroVironment are the only people with a commercial tail system, unless anyone knows any different in the comments, and that's the Quantix. So I think it's only the two of you moving in that marketplace at the moment.
So actually, my comment here would be that at the moment we're not competing with VTOLs because here we're kind of already standing out a bit. Our main competition is fixed wings at the moment, fixed wings in professional market.
And
so
but then you're using the VTOL part of your offering to differentiate yourself
exactly,
from the others.
Because there we have a benefit. So.
Sure. But to play devil's advocate, though, wouldn't I just put lithium-ion batteries in and fly for a little bit longer, so I could fly into the mapping site rather than take advantage of the VTOL part? So it's a bit of a rude question, but there it is.
Yes, but for example, we have some use cases where drone is operated from a boat. So there's no way to land for fixed wing.
Sure.
Or on mines where the terrain is very rocky. Every time the fixed wing lands, it just also cannot land there because it would break. And then they would also break the cameras, so that we don't do that.
Fair enough. Does anyone, chaps, do you have any other questions? And then we'll let Justina go. Well, cool. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing where it all goes and what happens with it. It does look a very tidy package. Well done on that. And yeah, well, hopefully we'll speak to you again when you have your next product launch.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Cool. All right, it's a pleasure. Cheers. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Well, there we are then. So Richard's bailed on us. Richard, you've bailed. And you've downloaded the app, Bruce, and everything. In fact, I might even try to do that now.
I'm wondering, actually, because I downloaded the app from the App Store that says Altitude Angel, and it seems to be a giant ad for insurance. So I'm wondering if someone's done a sly one and slipped a different app in under the Altitude Angel name.
Come on, Bruce. You have that on Mission Planner. You just have to use Ardopilot. If you use Ardopilot, it's already inside Mission Planner. You just have to tick a box.
Yeah, but not all of us use Ardopilot, Louis. Some of us like to be different. I'm special. That's what they told me at school.
You are here, Richard. He's here in the comments. You can't be here in the comments, Richard. Where are you in person? It is that Richard. He's in the that's cheating. Being in the comments.
It's cheating.
Oh, but I'm not the Richard you're expecting. Okay. Oh,
so Bruce.
So any Richard will do then.
So Bruce, do you start or do I start teasing Gary because he has managed to get his Tyrannis running as a joystick.
I wasn't aware of that. Fill me in,
Oh
Louis.
my God. He said I was to blame.
Two things to say to you. I've got two things. Yeah, apparently, allegedly, when you hear this voice,
welcome to Free Sky Tyrannus.
It's the wrong voice. It's the old voice, and I've got to get a new voice. And the new voice with the update in the firmware will then let me do what I've been trying to do with this. And the reason I wasn't doing it is because this is his Tyrannus, and it's full of all his models. So I didn't want to muck it up. But Louis assures me that
I showed you to you.
You assured and assured. You assured. You promised me. Promised me that
I don't
would be able to get,
not even to my wife.
Exactly. Well, there we are. You'd be able to get all the settings back. Now, look, I was off to the Play Store to find to see if that app was indeed. What you can't just on the internet, Bruce. I don't know if you know about it. You can't just add words and put angel after it because all sorts of weird stuff could potentially happen, Bruce. I don't know. Have you been around the internet long?
Yeah. Well, I found it the other day actually, but it did. Get rid of all this rubbish. It says Fly Safe Altitude Angel, and it's got covered drone Fly Safe as a mobile app for customers to access drone safety data. So I don't know. And then it comes up with this cover drone thing, and then it crashed my phone, and then it said, "Oops, we're sorry, we've encountered a problem." And then it sat there with the little wheels spinning for ages, and I'm thinking, "What's going on?" So another fail, at least on my phone at this end in this country.
That doesn't sound like the right app. And the reason we wanted to get Richard Parker on was twofold. Fold number A was that I noticed in Gutmer's publications that the RPAS operator was last, and there was a NOTAM that may or may not have appeared in New Zealand, and we were going to rip into him for that. And I put maybe I shouldn't have put that on our thing. Is it working on your phone?
It doesn't work on these kind of phones, Bruce.
This Play Store says it's had 500 downloads. It's rated 3.5 stars. And
it's not it. It's not it.
That's not it, Bruce.
So someone has snuck one in under the Altitude Angel name. So Altitude Angel should be aware of that because people are going to be downloading stuff that will misrepresent them.
Yeah, it's always a problem with for instance, the Google Store is always a problem.
Yeah, so they need to do something because I didn't see another Altitude Angel. And some of the comments, of course, it's probably laden with things that says, "So helpful, won't be getting my drone shot down over a military base again. Fantastic, down to the detail of a helipad. Excellent app. This is not free. This is not free. You need to be a policy holder to use this." So this is obviously from a insurance company. Then the next one on the list here is AirMap.
Oh,
there doesn't seem to be an Altitude Angel on the list of apps. The real one isn't here.
No, I think that the only one I know of they do is with the UK CAA, I think, and that's called something else altogether. Vashon, we are actually looking for a different app now. That probably is WingtraPilot for their thing or whatever. We should have asked her when she was here. And very interesting, isn't it? Tail sitters, I'm still not convinced, and I think that's why there is only 2 of them in the marketplace at the moment. Unless, do you know of any more, Louis?
Oh, we support a bunch of them.
Yes.
I don't remember readily of commercial models, but I believe there are a few. This one from Wingtra, I already knew about it. They've been on developing for quite some time, and as I follow up the PX4 group, so it's something that has already been discussed, these Wingtra models, but there are a few others. ArduPilot has support for a bunch of them and every crazy configuration, and there's even new ArduPilot community members that are 3D printing new frames with the 2 engines on a tail sitter.
But they still blow over right the way back from when I played with the what was that? That
And
pogo.
you put them
Pogo.
side on to the wind, not face on to the wind.
Yes.
Put them side on.
Yes, yeah. No, you can do that, and you can actually get the controller to do that, but they'll still hit a point where life's not good.
Louis, are these tail sitters, are they using ArduPilot or a 3D rendering of ArduPilot? Because we know how many commercial drones are nothing more than a 3D rendering.
I believe that's all
my
you
God.
need. That's all you need. You don't.
No, you only
Are they
need that
supposed
if
to
you
exist?
go for a page for what's the name of that buy me site, the Lily style site that people pay in advance for vaporware. There are a few.
Yes.
Yeah, crowdfunding. Thanks, Bruce. I think some are optimistic, hopeful, but it's a different market for these kinds of vehicles. It might get benefits from its architecture to fly faster. They aren't made to hover; they are made to take off and fly like a plane. So it's like almost like an Harrier. It wasn't made to hover for very long, and it's an issue with this. For instance, a traditional quad plane can hover for much longer and has some purposes. So it's applicability of each frame that can be used. Fortunately or unfortunately, depends on the way you want to see it. At ArduPilot, we support all of them, and I don't know if you saw. We showed something, and we've posted a video that Bruce would be happy. A 99 grams wing, Bruce.
Yeah, well, and also the but what was that race thing you quite liked this week, Bruce? You had a little quad that you've just done a video on, but I think it was an F4 controller. Can you get to the headers for that? Is it populated, or is it just only what it needs?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of F4 controllers you can get in small form factor. 20mm by 20mm is now the sort of the mini form factor, so you can actually get F4 controllers for that. It's just a case of what software you're going to use on it.
Yeah, and we already support. We've recently started supporting the F4 to 5 based processors. We already have support for that, so there
but
are
if
quite
you but if you want to make it useful, you're going to have to add a GPS, and there was overhead because you've got that huge antenna on the back of that thing. So there's overhead if you drop the weight on that to add a GPS, but you can only add a GPS if you can reach the header.
You cannot get everything that you want. You want small. Yet this one's 35 millimeters.
Promise everything, Louis.
No, it's 35 millimeters. So, and it's a full-fledged PICSOC. This one,
but
it's not the PICSOC. It's the Mind PX.
But do they do a 20mm one? It can get a 20mm pixel.
This one, no. But the thing is, okay, let's separate PICSOC. PICSOC is one type of board. This one is on the same family, same processor type. And ArduPilot has launched recently support for F4 to 5 boards. So those very cheap boards that you can find on Banggood and Hobby Kings and all that. We now have support for that, and if you have a better controller, will behave better. For instance, if you have barometer, which some don't have, we'll use it. So we are going down on the boards, and they are not a PICSOC, but they run ArduPilot. Or you can go the other way, like this one, which is a Raspberry Pi 3 with a cap, with a hat, which in this case is the Navio 2 board. It's running full Linux computer and is doing flight control, and also can use the camera. So Ardupilot at the moment is very versatile on the types of boards, from those cheap F425 boards to this kind of high-end boards. Different purposes, different audiences, still running the same flight stack that we want. For instance, those 20 millimeters ones that Bruce was mentioning, I've been looking at one of them, but I'm not sure because those Banggood descriptions are terrible. If, for instance, I want to put it on a 450 LE, that would be nice, the 20 millimeter boards. But the ones I've found only found with 4 outputs, 4 motor outputs, and for an LE, I need more. So it's always a problem of different choices of hardware, and that's what Ardupilot is bringing. And with this move to the new operating system, that you can see the description and the story of this new operating system, GBOS, that Ardupilot is moving to, has allowed us to go to a wide variety of ports, not only the Pixox. Pixox is hardware, Ardupilot is software. We run on the Pixox 1, we run on the Pixox 2, we run on the Cube, we run on the Pix4 Pro, Pixox Pro, which is by another manufacturer. We run on Linux boards, the MLID boards. We run on a variety of boards. So,
And in the comments, Matthew Gordon saying about the CC3D Revo, it is running on that now, and that's the new one, Vashon. That's not the older one. The CC3D is very old.
yes, and
it'd be interesting if Bruce could just connect the GPS to that little racer that he really likes, and that's his sub 250 grand racer done, or quad done, with a decent camera. All the other stuff's good on it, Bruce, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not quite done because that's still a racing mini quad. The props are in the field of view and everything. So that proper camera drone requires a different physical layout with the camera in a position where it's not going to get the props spinning. And also you want some kind of gimbaled camera, some kind of camera stabilization, because the smaller the quad, the more they tend to get knocked around. So I'm still working on a different frame design for that, which will look, but the plans I'm working on at the moment are quite different to anything you've probably seen before, bearing in mind the fact it has to be lightweight, it has to have the camera in a suitable position, and there's a lot of other factors which mean you can't just use existing design principles. So it's going to be an interesting project. I've already got some of the bits arrived the other day, so I'll be leaping into it in the next week or two.
Hey, Gary, I think
Yes.
we can convince Bruce to get a Sky Viper 2450 GPS. And
Matt said he was going to send him one. Matt is very, very, very slow boat. Very slow boat to New Zealand there.
Yeah, and he can throw away those. He can start hacking on it, get some brushless motors connected to it, and it already has a companion computer where you can process the image and do whatever you want with the image, Bruce.
Oh, I'd like to have a look at it, see what it does, but I've already got some plans in mind, which I'm trying to use as much as possible off-the-shelf bits and pieces, and keep the price down as well as keep performance up. So it's a interesting conflict of goals.
No, it's not. It's an off-the-shelf drone that you dismantle to build a new Frankenstein drone.
Yeah, I suppose that's one way of looking at it. But what happens when they stop making that drone? Where do you get the bits then?
I believe that when they stop making it, they'll make a new one better and lighter. So yeah, it's all okay for you.
Well, if I get one, I'll look at it.
Yeah, well, we'll email Matt again. I think you should. It's
give him a hurry up.
Give it a hurry up and wait, isn't it? Yeah, it's an interesting project, and everything is going. Not everything isn't going sub 250, but the world is definitely eyeing sub 250 now, and I think it's going to create. We're going to get the same quality of camera drone, as it were, sub 250 as we were getting out of a 1.5 kilo drone a couple of years ago. All the regulators do is driving technology, but that's my opinion on that one. Did we see that Casey Neistat flew that Skydio R1? Did we see that?
Yeah, I can't believe when they designed that thing, he was complaining about the size of it so big. Why didn't they do what other very similar looking drones do and fold it down the center line so it folds into the top, one side folds onto the other, and you've halved the size of it for transport?
I think he was being a bit disingenuous, wasn't he? Because I do think that the sides come off it. I think I stand under correction, but I thought I sort of thought I'd seen renderings where those motors just come off. 6-bladed props. That's a bit.
They're trying to get as much lift out of the disc area that making for bigger props. But I mean, I've seen cheap Chinese ones that fold together really nicely. Right down the middle is basically a hinge line, and they just fold together, and it's like, whoa, so simple. So I think the MIT guys were more focused on providing the functionality than providing, as they say, it's a proof of concept. It's the first thing. It's not designed with portability in mind. It's just designed to prove that their technology works. So the next one will be fantastic, probably.
Do you think you'll get enough traction to get to a next one though? Because it starting at $2,500. So Mr. Neistat did very nicely make the point that you could have a couple of drones and a lot of meals.
But when you look at electric cars, the first electric cars like the Tesla Roadster, look how expensive that was. And then you had the Tesla Model S, and now the Model 3 is much cheaper because as the technology improves and scales of production increase, the prices drop dramatically. How much did you pay for your first IBM-compatible computer?
And they did say that they're using an NVIDIA TX1, I believe, which is not properly cheap. So it's part of that. The number of cameras really adds to the price. I believe the price might be right to what it does hardware-wise. I don't know. The drone market is a very, very strange thing. We've seen this before with 3DR, with GoPro, and then our friends from Shenzhen with 3-letter name came up with something that blew it away for the competition. I don't know if they really want to come after this Skydio drone, but their concept is very good. And apparently, I didn't saw the case in a video. I saw the tested one, and the guy running around the trees and the drone doing what it should do, and better than me flying in the middle of a wood. I don't know. I'm not as experienced small drone flyer for FPV like Bruce. I'm sure Bruce would do it perfectly, flying around the wood. I would crash on the first or the second tree, but the computer did very well. So the algorithms they're running there are doing what they are supposed to do, and even the flukes that the drone got confused and stopped following one guy and got to follow another guy. That's expected for that.
Well, I must admit, Mr. Neistat did say, "Oh, we could never fly through here," and I immediately thought, of course, of Team Nana and of Chad and his gang, because there were plenty of people that could fly through the area. And I also saw the tested one. And if you compare, and you'll have to watch it after this, Louis, but if you look at the tested one versus Casey's one, I think I have a hunch now rewatch the tested one again, that they very carefully thought about when they were going to do that tested one, because it was a much smoother footage than Captain Neistat managed to produce. But no, yeah, I mean, it is part of the future. What they're doing, no doubt, is part of the future, and this probably will be in all DJI gear. No, it's not part of the future.
No, I think Casey nailed it. I think their exit strategy may be to sell or license the technology rather than build drones. They built the drone to prove it works. Then they're just waiting for DJI, someone to come along and say, we will buy you or your technology for a large amount of money. Job done. End of story.
Yeah, that might be it. But they've proved their point that it's possible to do a fully autonomous collision avoidance, intelligent tracking drone with basically off-the-shelf parts, and you can go and buy NVIDIA, you can go and buy any of those cameras from electronic suppliers and assemble it. The smart thing they did is the hardest, and that I'm sure that took them the most time, which is to get it all working together and well. And my congrats to them. It's a great success for drone world.
Richard Parker's just emailed. He said, "Tell that Kiwi bloke." No, he said they've just landed late in Frankfurt and they're 90 minutes away from his internet. So very sorry. So, so there we are. So thanks for that, Richard. We've copied and understood. Yeah. See, frightened, Bruce, frightened. That's what he is. Frightened, running scared. I will email him later on and say, Bruce has found a mind. You will, if you type angel into Google, Bruce. I mean, anyway.
Yeah. But if you type altitude angel, it should come up with something roughly what you're looking for. There's a trademark infringement. I hope they've trademarked their name, because that is a trademark infringement.
Come on, Bruce. Aren't you sure that you went on Tinder and selected angel?
Well, I was swiping left and right, but nothing happened. So yeah.
I've never done that. Does this mean I have to go off and find this app and see what that means? I don't really know what that means. Show my age again, aren't I? What else?
Was it on Android?
Hang on, Louise, just quickly.
I'm just picking my phone. Sorry. Let me see if I find it.
Now, another thing that came along this week that I thought, I don't think we spoke about it last week, I couldn't remember, was the DJI fixed wing rumor. I should have spoken straight about that after the young lady from WingtraOne, because VTOL flight does seem, I am a bit lost by the enthusiasm for it, because you can always find a place to take off and land. There's always a bit of road, there's always a park, and if your machine is can get in and out of it and you can make it fly more efficiently, then you can get that fixed wing job done. I'm a bit of a loss to understand it all, but that was the furore, was that DJI was going to be releasing a fixed wing drone, and I think we all saw straight through it, didn't we, Bruce?
Guardian by Altitude Angel. Bruce.
That's it.
It's the first hit on the list. And I just put it Altitude Angel, and the first hit, it's Guardian by Altitude Angel.
Yes, I'm going to do the same. Yes. Yeah, well, you know, he's ahead of us. He's in the future. Maybe in the future that search term doesn't work.
Oh, I know. Is the other side of the world. You're on the lower side too.
And of course, you can always look at this data on SUS News, because it's in Drone Safety Match at the top. Now I got apps. There we are. Apps. Altitude Angel. I've found it as well, Bruce. Come on, Bruce.
What's going on here?
Come on, Bruce.
I don't know.
Are you using your candy bar phone?
No. I got my quad core latest Android version phone.
Yeah, Guardian Altitude Angel. There it is as well.
I don't know. I'll have to try that later and video my experience.
Absolutely, yeah. You get half hour out of that, can't you?
It may be because Altitude Angel is not available in my country. It just doesn't appear on the list anymore.
And for me, this item is not available in my country for me either. So yeah, that is a disappointment. Yeah, it's not available here. It's there on the list, but
that's the advantage of living nearby Spain.
Well, in Western Spain, there, yes, that's right. Yes. Right, yeah. So that fixed wing, come on, what did we think of that fixed wing? Are DJI going to enter the fixed wing world ever? Okay. Do we think?
I think so. Yes, and perhaps it was fake. But as you guys know, sometimes these manufacturers do things for the Chinese market that they don't sell elsewhere. So if I believe that, yes, if they see there's a market for that in their own country. Whether they're going to bring that to the rest of the world remains to be seen. I'm not so sure it was a fake.
Oh, really? I heard it was a student's project.
I don't know. I really don't know. I believe someone over there has seen the market and has seen that perhaps there's money to be made on that area. They already have their agricultural drones, which we all know they have a problem with the flight time, because to fly with that amount of load, they fly for very little time. So what's the right path forward going after those Agras models? Fixed wing.
Well, Yamaha reckons it's helicopters, don't they? I mean, they've got that agricultural helicopter they've had for years, and it seems to sell pretty well and has a reasonable flight time.
Well, they actually stopped making them for quite a few years. They've brought them back to life now, but they did stop making them. I think they sold 2,500 of the version 1 ones, and they were just they were standard old move your thumbs, very complicated radio controlled helicopters. Really, only a couple of people have been killed by them. They're definitely barking up the right tree, I think, there. But of course, it's sized for paddy fields in Asia, small, tiny fields. It's not made to do the prairies. But then we had this last week.
I thought paddy fields were an island.
Oh no! Yes, yeah. Most of them emigrated over there. In fact, Sarah's been. We've got to come and live with you now, Bruce, because we had a bit of a snake incident here today. You don't have snakes over there, do you?
Only in Parliament.
Only there you go. There you go.
On your council too.
Yeah, and in the halls of the regulators. They're there, but they're just not common, and they're not poisonous. They're just very silly.
Shame. No, it's been a funny old week. And well, speaking of the big helicopters, so Yamaha with their idea, you see that Leonardo, which is Westlands, which is any number of European helicopter manufacturers now today have flown their basically optionally piloted vehicle, which is one of their machines turned into a drone. And I think we're going to see. I think this year we're going to see a bit of a not renaissance. That's going to be the wrong word, but I think helicopters are going to start featuring a bit because they make a lot of sense in a lot of areas that multi-rotors will reach parts that multi-rotors just can't reach. I think we're reaching the physics limits of multi-rotors at the minute.
If you see, for instance, one of the latest partners of Ardo Pilot, which is Thunder Tiger, they have a lineup of big helis that are quite interesting on their architecture. And for instance, Nova Aerial, also a partner from Ardo Pilot, that developed a very capable and robust heli. We have Thunder Tiger, so they sell the TT Robotics, it's the name of the company, and Nova Aerial, they sell those helicopters. They have their place. For instance, if you want to do power line inspections, you need the flight time, and it's easier to do it with an heli carrying some heavy payloads sometimes than doing with a multi-rotor. Multi-rotor one just kind of does it. Does not. We cannot easily say that it does it. And an airplane might be too fast to do it effectively. So it's something that is in the middle. Short range, good positional capability, the multi-rotor, bigger range, good load capacity, and also the ability to hover in place, the helicopter, and longer range, the airplanes with also good load capacity. Perhaps the easiest to operate in the field is the multi-rotor, but second comes the heli.
But aren't we? I think aren't we hitting the point where the capability just, yes, the multi-rotor can do X, Y, and Z, but it can't do A, B, and C, which other platforms can. And I think we are hitting limits. I know here in South Africa there's a huge shortage of fixed-wing pilots. So if you happen to be watching in South Africa and you're thinking about getting your commercial license, get one for aeroplanes. Forget multi-rotors. There's far too many multi-rotor drivers here. Forget that. You won't get paid any money.
Multi-rotors or DJI drivers?
Well, yeah, DJI drivers. Yeah, you said it. Yeah, you're right.
No, it's true. It's the same everywhere, Gary. You have guys that use multi-rotors for commercial purposes that operate only with DJI and are limited to what DJI offers. And there's other operators that use other multi-rotors that have specific needs. There's a place for all. Look at Intel and with the Aero and Aztec. They've been selling that drone for ages.
Well, I think you mean the Falcon 8 you're talking about there?
Yeah, the Aztec Falcon 8.
I think that might be due for an upgrade. I think that might be coming in the near
I believe
future.
they've been upgrading it. I saw the presentation that Intel CEO did. They added collision avoidance and a few other things that came up. And let's not forget that Intel has been acquiring some very smart companies that do artificial intelligence chips, so it might be a surprise.
Yeah, they've had some great acquisition sort of strategies, haven't they, really? And just rolled back to TT. I liked the cut of the jib of that thing, and I inquired of them after price, and it's $28,000 for a base
for the Ellis of TT Robotics.
The TT, is it the TT 180? I think
I believe so.
Yeah, and I
know they have small. Those are special purpose. When you go to a shop and try to buy a tool, either you buy a spanner or a special built tool for a job. Those are special built tools for specific jobs.
Well, interestingly, you see, that'll match the performance of the Wingtra. Though it's a bit unfair now the young lady's gone, but that'll match the performance of the Wingtra for lifting that camera and for that time. And in fact, for a lesser time, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like 50 minutes with 2 kilos. And but wait, there's more. It was 20 minutes with 15 kilos. So, it really was pretty capable machine. And I can see that. And because it's coaxial, one on top of the other rotors, it's quite a relatively small form factor. Yeah, it's quite a nice thing.
I believe Bruce left. I was going to ask Bruce. I was going to ask Bruce about the efficiency of coaxials, because it seems to be a choice on bigger alleys, and we see that. I see that every summer here in Portugal with those big come-off Russian helicopters that do the firefighting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good old aviation, isn't it? It's trade-offs. You lose some efficiencies with one lot of air beating the next lot below it into submission, but then you gain the advantage of no tail rotor to back into trees or whatever at low level, and slightly more compact, and then a tiny bit more lift. Not the same as having 2, but a tiny bit more lift over the disc area. Oh, and Matthew saying coaxial's terrible in the wind trade-offs. Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I've been nearby a cam off operating, and At least they're very loud, but they're Russian, so they do their stuff, and they don't care about noise limits and all that.
And you can probably chuck anything in to run it as well.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's probably from margarine all the way through to proper Jet A1 fuel. You can probably run the thing.
That's something that ArduPilot is slowly developing a good relationship with partners. TT Robotics is one of our latest partners, and they have some interesting lineup. And let's hope their newer lineups will have and feature ArduPilots on a more prominent site. At least, I don't know if you saw the videos that the ArduPilot conference that ran last weekend.
I did, and particularly that's why I made a video. I had to go at the deep stall landings, which I didn't actually know were in there. They've been in there for quite a few years using software in the loop, and that the auto land video. If you're an ArduPilot sort of a person and you need some auto land help, then that video is quite good, and the others are as well, and well worth going through all those.
And we've created a YouTube star because Tridge's videos are on the top of the visualizations on ArduPilot. So no, the presentations are very good, and we'll try to improve the quality of the recordings next year because we are getting good content out of those conferences. I would say, in my personal point of view, the one on Chibios of Tridge, the one from Lennon about the new position control and the new loiter that is going to be implemented, and the way he explains it, which is also very helpful to people that are trying to understand how ArduPilot works, not so much for regular users, although regular users that have seen the video understood why the drones behave like they do. And we have some good conferences there. Also, the one that I enjoyed the most, which is the one of Paul Reisenborough about AKF, which is guessing the future, and to know where to leave the drone and have it do a very smooth flight, and all these. And I can reveal this. We are planning on publishing a strategy and roadmap for ArduPilot, so people are aware of what we do and what we intend to do. And also that's combined with the GSOC initiative for 2018, where ArduPilot has been accepted again as a partner for Google Summer of Code students. We'll be having we don't know yet how many students allowed by Google, but we've been approved again, and we are still discussing the proposals and what the students will do and how that will fit in our broader roadmap. We already have a good list that we'll be trying to make public very soon.
Yeah, we're a bit biased, aren't we? You've got to be a bit careful being too biased. Other flight stacks are available, but why you'd use them? Why you'd use them? I don't know, but they are available.
No. For instance, I follow very closely what PX4 does. I have beta flight on one of my smaller drones. I tried as a curiosity INAV. I try to be aware of what the flight stacks are doing, and it's always a matter of choosing what's right for you. Back to what I said before with the frames, it's trying to choose what's right for you, and every flight stack has its plus and minus.
I must try that.
And as you know, with Air Autonomous, you have
well, my landings are getting much better thanks to Tom and Michael's video. I understand what's supposed to be happening a little bit better with that. And I've been speaking to Tom, and I think the landing code is going to evolve quite a bit over the next year. Well, he's keen to do it anyway, and we might see some sort of things that I thought would have been a good idea for a long time coming into it. So there's some exciting stuff being done, and you've got to remember it's all being done by volunteers. No one's being paid to do all of this. Look out, he's back. We better stop talking about him now. So the law came.
No, one of the things living on an airfield or being on an airfield is that sometimes planes get stuck here on their way to somewhere else, and the weather's so bad at the moment. Had a plane turn up here with a couple of guys waiting to get through to somewhere further south, so I just had to do in the hospitality thing, and have a chat and whatever.
Very good, very good. Very good. So I wish you could have taken it out to show us this. Yeah, no, if you got time to spare, go by air, isn't it? Luckily, we're turning into autumn here, and it's not so bad. We've had a couple of lovely days, and people don't want to hear about the weather, do they?
Now that Gary, now that Bruce has returned, let me try to make him the question. We were discussing the coaxial alleys. Do you have an opinion on efficiency of that, Bruce?
No.
Oh, come on! We want Bruce.
Now look, I saw the links in the email, but the dog ate my homework.
There you go. There you go.
I bet we'll see a video from Bruce during this next week.
Well, any chance you can fire up the rendering farm? And I know it takes a week or two to get it all sorted
out.
Out
of ink, actually.
Is it nearly out of ink? Yeah, but coaxial. I mean, are they just competing rotor blades and stuff like that, or do you really not have an opinion on that?
Well, on coaxial setups.
Yeah,
they're not very efficient. The problem being you've got one set of blades operating in the wash of another set of blades, so you get all things like the angle of attack of the lower set isn't always constant relative to the airflow, so you end up with some real inefficiencies, and you got twice the number of rotors, but you only get 15% more thrust specifically. So it's a big compromise.
Is that number right? 15%, Bruce? I thought
that's the last thing I saw on it. I haven't experimented myself, but the last thing I read on it said that you can only expect about an extra 15% thrust on a coaxial setup.
Wow.
The experience I have with multi-rotors and the X8, which is a quad with motors on top and on bottom on the same arm, the experience is not 15%, is a bit more. Can't recall exactly the number, but it's a bit more. So that's why I wanted to ask you if you had any experience with those types of coaxial setups. And besides they're pitch controlled, both sets of propellers, right?
There would be in a helicopter, but not in a multi-rotor.
On a multi-rotor, but on an alley, yeah.
Yeah, because that's effectively how they would do their turning, their yaw, because you just vary the pitch of one rotor and it gives you more torque reaction.
Yeah.
And then but in the multi-rotor world, don't they? As he has a tiny multi-rotor prop for no reason at all in his hand. But don't they change the pitch between the top and bottom ones to try and avoid some of that beating and submission of the air? Are they different pitch normally?
No, I think the reason you have a coaxial and multi-rotors is solely for redundancy in the case of a lost engine prop or ESC.
For the multi-rotors, yes. It's one of those issues that my company, we used to use coaxial X8. And it was more for the redundancy than anything else. Also, the lift capacity, because we have to lift 3 kilos. So,
you could use a smaller rotor disc area with coaxial, but only marginally.
Yeah. Well, it looks cool. We're talking about this TT, or they look cool. so that's okay.
They look very cool.
And as we know, and these things exist in the real world and fly, but any renderings also need to look cool. So that is the primary thing, that these things have to look cool. Last week, someone mentioned in the comments that you never mentioned. It was very good of you, Louis. You never actually mentioned your company name. What is your company called, Louis?
My company is Pro-Drone.
Pro-Drone, and that is the mostly
.eu.
So where do I get one of these dash drones, Louis?
Dash drones. I can ship you one. Bruce, just send me your address, because I've just shipped. I just shipped one to Gary.
Oh, did you? Oh,
yeah. See?
Oh, pen. Oh, very good. Oh, it was for the render. The render file can work for
the render tool.
Yeah.
Wow. Self-rendering drone. My goodness. What do I think of?
Yeah, no, it yeah. I did see some ridiculous renderings this week, and this week I've finally had it enough. I can't even remember. Oh, people normally lead with market leader or world experts in, or whatever in their press releases. I've just started stripping all that out now. I've had enough of it. I've had enough of there's only, it's just, come on, people. Come bring us something new and interesting. Don't just
hey, Gary, but have you been following the big news in the last week or two?
Which particular bit? Inform me, Bruce.
In New Zealand, drones are spying on people all over the place. It's like the newspapers here have been full of stories. Drone spies on people walking in a park, drone spies on women sunbathing in the backyard. It's like, ooh, everyone is up in arms because these drones are invading people's privacy. And I see those stories are syndicated by such notable tomes as the Daily Mail and other, well, it's like, oh my goodness. But to make it even better, when you see these stories and you look at the comments, people are saying, oh, these damn drones, they should be banned. We must license the pilots. If I saw one, I'd shoot it down. Every time there's a drone story about a drone, apparently spying on someone. But in yesterday's paper here in New Zealand, there was another story. A woman got out of the shower and she caught a glimpse of an iPhone poking through the window, filming her in the shower. So I was just waiting for all the people to say, we must ban iPhones. We must license iPhone users. We must, if I saw an iPhone, I'd shoot it. But there hasn't been. So why is there this strange divide between, I'm going to criticize the stuff, the technology I don't like, but I'm not going to criticize the technology I use?
Yeah, I had seen that, and I had seen...
it should be banned too, also has a camera.
I hope you're not filming me, Louis.
Oh, yes. But then that in the UK, that's one of the distinctions they make to bring stuff into the drone category, is if it's capable of aerial surveillance. They don't actually just say with a camera. They actually mention any devices. But that is one of the ways you change from being a pure model aeroplane into another category is its ability to surveil by whichever way. Yeah, it's been a very slow news week.
You want crazy regulations? We have a law in Portugal which is applied to drones that every camera that flies, you have to ask a special permission to the Air Force. So you have to fill up a form. If you fly with the drone, you have to fill up a form, say where you're going to fly and what's the purpose of the pictures, and including if you use the camera on a plane, on a real plane, the pilot is responsible for every picture that you take inside the plane. So if I throw up, if you take our camera on the air law to its extreme, if I pick up a phone or a camera or whatever that is able to take pictures or shoot video, if I throw it in the air, I'm illegal. And
as well as not having a camera when as well as not having a camera when it hits the deck. Yeah, I mean that's sort of quite old rules everywhere, I think. But what do DJI users do over there? Do they all fill out the form, or is it something that's round
in Portugal, everyone that wants to fly legally has to fill up the form, say when and where you're going to fly.
Every flight.
And what's the purpose of the footage that you are going to get?
And as a company, you do that then?
I have to. I sometimes we get, for instance, in our company, we sometimes get requests to do some surveys on wind turbine blades from 24 hours. So someone has to go run to the Air Force headquarters and go to the specific department. Please, 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 can I have the permission to do and operate there?
Wow, that could be pretty jolly restrictive to your business.
Yeah, but it's something that I know what I can count on. So we have two kinds of permissions: one to operate a camera in the air, and the other to operate a drone. So I have to always ask for two kinds of permissions. And that's if I don't go over a national park, then I have to go to another government department to ask permission to fly over the national park. It's a mess.
It sounds
You
like
can see
it.
why people don't follow the rules. It's just ridiculous. If you make the burden of compliance too high, people say, "No, not going to bother," and you get zero compliance. It's like regulators, of course, don't believe it.
Now we are starting to see something funny. You see the guys that have permissions to fly in the specific area, and they see someone using a drone on that area, and they go and call the police to stop the other guys. So
Yeah.
it's not self-policing, it's bickering between operators that we see.
Madness, isn't it? I can't imagine how you can easily run your business. And do you live near this Air Force office?
Fortunately, yes. My company office is 10 minutes from there, so I can get in the car and do all the ritual to go inside an Air Force. Sorry?
You can't deliver the form by drone.
No, I can send it by email, digitally signed, and they'll reply to me. But sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I have to go there personally. And the guys from the Portuguese Air Force are fantastic.
Oh,
the lights have gone out in Portugal.
he mentioned the Portuguese Air Force. Boom, gone.
Yeah,
gone.
Not so happy now, are you, Louis?
No, not so fantastic, are they? He's back.
He's back. He's found an alternate route.
They can't keep him down forever, but they got him instantly. You're muted there.
We can't hear him. So, yeah.
Yeah.
While he sorts himself out, did you also see the story about the Cessna that suffered $4,000 in damages to a wingtip caused by a drone? Doesn't that sound like hanger rash to you? And no one wants to own up.
Was that the one in Canada, Shire?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, somewhere like that. Yeah. How often do people do that and go, "Oh no, it wasn't me"? And again, drones are the get out of jail free card for the recreational or the aviation industry. It's like beyond a joke.
But I think you're opening yourself up for all sorts of trouble if your insurer discovers it's hanger rash and beyond. If you just own up and say it's hanger rash, the insurers will pay out or whatever. But if you lie in such a big way, surely you're opening yourself up for the insurers to say, "Oh, well, actually."
Yeah. But if it was someone who'd hired the plane or whatever, and they didn't want to be, carry the burden, because the insurer would try and get the money back from the negligent party, probably, or maybe not insured. But it just sounds like it's a great way to get out of jail free. It's crazy.
Yeah. Are you back with us properly now, Louis?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The French, you said the Portuguese Air Force are great, and poof, they cut you straight off.
That's the airwaves.
Drone attack.
You didn't have permission to say that, you see.
I don't have permission to say good things about the Portuguese Air Force.
They were so dumbfounded they dropped the wires. Oh,
yes, the man with the other headphones on the other side.
No one's ever said nice things about them before.
No, in general, the people that operate at either the Portuguese equivalent of the FAA, which is ANAC, and the people that are in the Air Force departments, the people are great. They know the rules are not optimal, and they try to accommodate the best they can to alleviate that non-adequate regulations. And professionally, I have to thank them publicly because they are great, and personally also because as a personal user, I also sometimes have to go, and if I want to go and fly, I just ask them permission and I go fly. It's a very smooth process for us.
But you do wonder how many. Well, I mean, how would a tourist know? If we're coming back to Bruce's leaflet at the airport, aren't we here? But
yeah,
how would a tourist know when he came?
I believe the Portuguese FAA, the ANAC, I believe they have a campaign on some places and also the airports, which is, and we have a good website, which is Fly OK or Fly Well, roughly translated to English. Is voanaboa.pt, Voa na Boa, and it's quite comprehensive on where and when you can operate the drone.
Louis, do you find that your flight times are reduced with all that red tape hanging off your drones?
No, personally, no. Personally, no. I have, for instance, I asked for a permission. Most of the time I don't fly with cameras, and so I only need the specific permission from ANAC. I don't need to go to the Air Force, and I've requested the permission for 2 months to fly on a nearby field, where I do all the training and do the test flights that sometimes I have to do for autopilot. No problem whatsoever. I have the permission that lasts for 60 days, and I renew it when I need it.
And if so it is purely a camera. So a lidar has a camera.
No, lidar is not it's visual camera. So the permission, the 1953 or 1956 law is only for capturing images.
Wow. So
is that what about live camera? What about your FPV camera? It doesn't store an image; it's a live translation.
It's the same.
Oh. So if you're in an airplane, you can look and see something. That's quite okay. But if you're on the ground and using live FPV and look at the same thing, it's not okay unless you have a license.
Yeah, come on, Bruce. It's a 1953 law. It's the time that the only guys that went in the air were some birds. Not exactly, but it's difficult. It was a hard thing to get a camera on a plane.
Yeah.
So,
well, and Victor Villegas has a good question. Well, what's the enforcement like in Portugal?
Okay, enforcement. At the moment, you just call local authorities.
No, but who's going to double? Okay, so that's what competitors are doing. But if a policeman comes along on the field, he says,
and asks, "Have you got permissions?" And you have to provide them.
Do the police know the regulations well enough to enforce them, though?
I believe that there was a big effort from the ANAC to train the policemen on the regulations for drones. We still don't have the new law, the one that will require mandatory registration and mandatory civil liability insurance. But at the moment, this is the situation. But any police then there's the so-called self-police people, the ones that see you fly a drone and call the police because they don't want you to fly a drone.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I live in the middle of nowhere, so there's no one here anyway. But it seems like you do have it rather rough over there.
No, it's not. You get used to it, and if you comply with the regulations, you're okay. For instance, in the company we have a test field, and one of the things I did was to file flight patterns and the usual flight plans that we do on the company for the testing of our drones, and we got a special permit to operate there for more than 60 days, and it's okay. We always fly according to a predetermined pattern. We do always the same kinds of test flights, and I filed, okay, this is how we operate. And they said, okay.
Different strokes, different folks. In the comments,
can you imagine how the Portugal authorities would react to a crowd around here?
Oh yeah, yes. And and Victor's just also quick.
Yes,
go on.
Everybody has to do it.
Recreational
If
as well.
you have the if you go to, I'll post the name of PT.
Well, then while you're doing that, the other thing in the comments, as the Dolce & Gabbana purse show with drones, I expect Bruce was all over that, because of course Dolce & Gabbana, that is Bruce. That is. Did you see that?
Those were some of the best models I've seen. Better than Cara Delevingne. The legs were a little short though; they didn't quite reach the floor.
Trust you. Can never catch him out. Yeah, no. Did we see the Intel light show at the end of the Olympics? That was also pretty amazing. These drone shows have come of age, I think, this year. They're very much the thing.
There was the ending ceremony of the Olympics.
Yeah. It was quite cool, wasn't it? That big bear thing, whatever it was. I quite like that.
When you have 1,200 drones at your disposal, what is a walking bear?
Yeah. No, they're a thing. I wonder how long it's going to be until they're a thing that's boring. Because when I think about it, I think that fireworks are kind of like big bangs, and all that sort of thing. You're not getting the bangs and the excitement with these things. So will they quickly go out of sort of fashion?
Yeah, I'm already bored by them, actually. One thing I've noticed, though, you notice that the two major display technologies now are very dangerous to aircraft. We've got lasers or we've got drones. So, like, what does the display industry have against aircraft?
Drones with lasers. That's what we need to do.
Remember?
Now.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. I'm surprised I haven't been arrested for that one.
There was a Japanese group that used to have shows with drones and lasers. I remember seeing that a couple of years ago.
Yes, and I think the question is, how do they know they manage a good, safe tracking of the positions? They talk to each other very much, don't they? I think, and they. They try to get a mixed formation going at the and charging batteries. Yes, we came to that last week. But they're in racks. Oh, did you see them when they walked down early in the thing? They carry them in racks and they plug into the racks.
How did they get to export them? Because isn't drone swarming technology like military classes munitions or something? It's all controlled.
That is a really, really good question. Yeah, it certainly super was, and. An ITAR sort of thing. I believe they're based in Europe, those actual aircraft.
Come on. And Bruce, when you export one, you have a problem. When you export 1,200, you don't have a problem.
Wow. Could be something like that. Could be, but I think them being based in Europe it must definitely be something to do with it.
What's going to happen when the EASA's rules come in, though? Because each of those drones will be like subject to all this regulation, and are they under 250 grams? What's the guts? Well, someone's going to have to fill out a lot of paperwork.
They'll have special permits and all that. It's not something that they should be. They are worried, I'm sure of it.
But each one will have to have a little transponder broadcasting its location and its unique serial number and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's going to be a nightmare. The radio waves will be filled with noise.
Bruce, unless they are considered experimental and they don't require, it's not mandatory for the experimentals to have the transponder.
Yeah, but if it's been used in displays, many displays, it's no longer experimental, is it? It's
how long can something be an experiment?
Yeah,
Bruce, that's Bruce's for been quite a few years. But anyway, how long can something be an experiment?
As long as it takes.
What you're saying is not what you know, it's who you know that matters when it comes to regulations.
No, come on, Bruce. You can't say things like that. It can't work.
You
come on, you can't. It can't be how it works.
Did you see There was more good drone news. A drone found a guy after a car crash in the UK using his thermal body heat. Did you see that? Fantastic. A drone rescue and another drone rescue.
The drone rescue the guy that had run away. Yeah, but he'd run away from the law, hadn't he? The drunk driving.
But the other one was they had to rescue a guy who'd climbed a tree to get his drone down. So it was like a drone rescue because he was trying to retrieve his drone. Fire brigade had to come and get him out of this tall tree. I think it was in the USA somewhere. Oh,
Bruce,
crazy.
And I believe the best event of the week is how many cows did Gary lost?
Yeah,
it's not the cows that I've lost. I've completely lost my charger. I know where the cows are. I know very well where the cows are. I can find them all the time. The cows have come home. Yeah,
well, you just have to find just instead of cows, find a bull. They'll charge you.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, I know. Funny enough, the chap from there, countthings.com, actually emailed me and said, how are you getting on? Well, so I'm sure the charger will emerge from one of the boxes soon. I know what I did. I did that I'll put it somewhere safe thing. It was always a stupid thing to do, is to put anything somewhere safe, isn't it? I hope it's not just me that
you need a box labeled to somewhere safe box. And only ever use that for putting things somewhere safe. But one thing, Louis, I've got to ask a question. Is it true that they're going to use Arducopter on that drone they're sending to Titan?
Never heard of it. The last I've heard was some students that are doing some work on zero-gravity drone.
Yeah, because NASA is sending one to Titan. I was thinking what a technological challenge that would be, because you've got different gravity, you've got different gas densities, you've got different temperatures. How are you going to get the PIDs right here on Earth?
Oh, come on, Bruce. No, sorry, Bruce. You have to go and see Leonard Hall presentation.
Well, the auto-tune.
Yes.
Yeah, but how do you know your aeroplanes? How do you know your auto-tune parameters are going to be within the range of acceptables on a place like that? You know, if you don't have enough big enough envelope.
The auto-tune. You auto-tune the auto-tune.
But I bet but they'll know some rough densities and things. And in the comments, Vashon saying we should be worried about some drone giant like DJI tries to sell their transponder technology to governments and force a whole hobby to use them. You better be right. That's exactly
right, but not perhaps DJI.
No, but that is exactly, and we've said it before. It's that 500-foot little bit of airspace that we've all been enjoying and loving and using, and has had no value other than the aeroplanes that fly over Bruce's place, because that one was using that first 500 feet. It's had no value, but all of a sudden it's got value. People want to deliver stuff, do whatever, and I think we've got to keep an eye on that. Would anyone else like to rant? I've stopped ranting.
It was also interesting. Did you note that in the EASA opinion document, they were very careful. Yeah, I've read it. They were very careful to say, in respect to the 250-gram thing, that it could be reviewed at any time, basically. So if they find that suddenly everyone's using sub 250-gram drones and doing all the things that they want to control or want to monetize, then they'll just keep bringing it down until it's impossible. Yeah,
no, that's exactly what's going to happen. It is exactly what's going to happen. I was thinking, what was I thinking? Not that I do a lot of thinking. Oh, that Talon Nano. I don't think you've reviewed it, have you, Bruce? But that's a really capable thing, and I think it's about 900 grams that weighs, and it just makes my head rewind to 2006, 2007, when the first bin was going to be 1 kilo. It was going to be 1 kilo. Imagine if we'd been given 1 kilo, and people perhaps foolishly at the time said, no way, it's got to be 7 kilos, otherwise we'll get nothing done. And if at the time they'd said 1 kilo, yes please, thank you very much, that'll do, well, we'd be in a different place now. We'd be in a very different place. Ran 10s.
Yeah.
Someone take over quick.
those limits are very arbitrary. And here in New Zealand, there is no bottom limit. So even your little paper airplane's covered. In Australia, it's 100 grams. Used to be 100 grams here, but I gather CAA believed that with technology advancing at the rate it was, it would be silly to have a lower limit because it'll soon become too high, so they have to keep adjusting it. So they just did away with it altogether, which is really stupid because now we have a bunch of grown men in suits regulating children's toys. So
it was sensible in some ways, wasn't it? It was for at least they realised, oh yeah, they'll come to the party.
That's backfired on them because I don't think they expected the proliferation of $19.95 toy quadcopters flying everywhere that now they have to regulate.
True.
And if you want to have a fun of it, one of the reasons that Paul Reisenberg did that proof of concept of the plane flying at 99 grams using a Pix Racer and autopilot was that be able to prove that something below 99 grams can be used with a regular autopilot.
Well, it's just like, again, if we rewind back to 2006, 2007, everyone was saying, there's no way there'll ever be an autopilot under $10,000 and a GPS will never be under, X, Y, and Z. And back then, people laugh at me all the time. And I foolishly said that they'll definitely be sub $1,000, maybe even sub $500. But that seemed like an absolutely outlandish thing to say then. And now, well, I don't know. I don't know quite what the absolute cheapest GPS guided setup you could get, but I bet it's under $200, isn't it? Maybe, gentlemen, you would have a better opinion than me.
Yeah, it is. It depends if you want waypoints and things. But how much was that little brushed motor one that you had there on the thing with?
Oh yeah, the 149. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And cheaper still. So yes, that's that's off the shelf. At $149, yeah, there's another kettle of ball games altogether. So quite where we're going to be in 10 years' time, I don't know.
What I want to know is this drone they're sending to Titan, under what regulations will it fly? Because if it's New Zealand CAA regulations, they'll have to get the permission of the property owner before they can even fly over Titan. So who owns it?
Whoever sent the first mineral prospecting spaceship there. And it's a bit of Vashon saying, yeah, funny how people die in car accidents every day in drones have yet to kill anyone. Regulations are not really data driven, unfortunately. You're preaching to the choir here. That's kind of where we're at, and Bruce always has the best opinions on those sort of things. No, shaking head. I left it open, bro. You just shake his head.
My opinion is like everybody else's. It's worth what you pay for it, which means it's worth nothing. However, if you want a paid opinion, I'll write your name and address on the back of a $100 note and mail it to me.
Yes, I wonder what that would be. Well, you could actually, if you're in the UK, you can write it on the old £10 notes, which go out of circulation tomorrow.
Now,
That's right. Bruce won't know any different. It seems like he knows.
The thing is that really, if you look at it closely, no change of status really, is there?
In what way? They're not worth anything. There you go. Yes, I suppose so. Yes. Yeah.
So one thing we need to talk about in the future program actually is look at all these massive climatic events. We've got that big snowstorm in the UK at the moment, which is like minus 10 degrees and so forth. We've had some really weird weather down here in the summer. You've got that big temperature inversion over the Arctic causing the ice to melt and things. What effect is this going to have on commercial drone operations? And is it going to be pro or con? Because you could say, well, it's going to be safer to use an unmanned vehicle in these wildly unpredictable weather conditions than a manned vehicle. But then again, are they able to cope with the same level of conditions that a manned vehicle can? So this is going to be something I think that more attention should be paid to in terms of where the future of unmanned aviation is going.
Well, it has to be anyway. I mean, it's always safer, isn't it, to drive it autonomously. As to capability, I think that's going to be ahead of the man. I think they're going to be ahead of the man every time. Pains me to say that as an aeroplane driver, but I think it will just react faster, and it's just a matter of setting it up, isn't it? It's
Is it going to change the shape of the way our unmanned aircraft are? Are they going to become more capable of handling extreme weather events? Like, otherwise you'll be grounded for like 200 days of the year because the winds will be stronger, there'll be more rain, there'll be less visibility, all that sort of stuff.
Well, they don't care about visibility, do they? Rain, yeah, maybe a little bit, but they've only got to be able to match or exceed whatever we've got now, which I'm sure they can. I'm sure even right now, as I sit here on this double-decker bus, they match it. I'm sure they're more than the military stuff out there is more than capable of matching what a manned aircraft can do without needing oxygen, fuel, toilet breaks, whatever. That's, and the weather events, if it's patching the wrong thing, isn't it, to make your autonomous aircraft work in those weather events? Shouldn't we be trying to fix the weather events if they truly are generated by man? Controversy time. Where's the tinfoil?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Are you going to say that you need to climb very high on a balloon to see if the Earth is flat?
Oh, it is. It must be. Otherwise, I mean,
there's some doubt.
Otherwise, all the water will fall off. It's obvious, isn't it? Come on, it's ridiculous.
We've seen footballs would just roll to the edge of the pitch.
Yes, that's right. They would. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. I don't know how. It's obvious, and how on earth will the Earth balance on the back of the turtle? You know, I mean, it just, yeah. Of course, it's ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
I feel we're exceeding our remit at the moment.
I think we are. I think, and largely because it's 25 minutes to 1 in the morning. I think flat earthers would say has anyone tried an RC hot air balloon? Yes. I have, and many real ones as well. And there are some really professional model hot air balloon makers, and the things are super accurate, and the basket weaving's lovely, and all the gas and everything's absolutely perfect.
But as far as their effect on the industry, they're not even a blimp on the radar.
No, not even a blimp on the radar. No, they are out there, and there are some works of art out there. Even the special shapes that you might see from people like Cameron's and stuff like that. Cameron Balloons, big manufacturer in the UK. There's also those, but they're very, very, very expensive to operate and very quick to destroy. Very, very quick on a windy day. In fact, they just oh god, so nerdy. If you're interested, they have a big they have a big meet of these things in the UK. It was due to be this coming weekend in Llangollen, and it was cancelled because of the weather.
At least it was not for drones flying nearby.
No. Although,
like the glider in the UK, a glider pilot claimed he missed a drone by 20 meters or something on approach to a field where people fly kites and things. There's some very good comments on that story on the site I read it on, because a lot of people said those who are now going to claim that this is a case for stronger drone regulation, please recognize that the guy flying the drone was already in breach of the rules.
Yeah. Well, that brings cycles all the way back to Victor's comments about Portugal, or on
Louis.
But Victor was saying to Louis' comments on Portugal, is there enforcement? Because all of this doesn't matter if there's no enforcement. And that's the bottom line.
Well, the Register, do you read the Register, the UK tech magazine? They had an interesting thing. They looked at the EASA rules, and they said that it looks very much like this ban on FPV is something that will only be enforced when they want to. It'll be widely ignored and enforced only when they choose to,
there's lots of I think in the UK around Portsmouth, I believe all sorts of things have been deployed now by the Navy to keep people away from HMS boats, and there's going to be a lot
just play that village people song all day, no one would come near them.
Absolutely, that could be one of the deterrents, one of the many. And if it isn't, perhaps we need to trademark it quick. You can make a rendering, and then we'll put a story in, and then somehow we'll get some venture capital for it. In fact, that's what we need to do. Isn't that what we need to do first? I've done that the wrong way around. Crowdfunding. Yeah. Crowdfund it. Yes. Crowdfunded village people. Anyway, moving on. It is late.
You play the Indian?
Well, what's Bruce going to be then?
I don't know.
The policeman. He has to be the policeman.
I've
He's
my
got the
hat.
hat.
Where's my
He's
police hat?
got
I
the
don't know.
hat.
I've lost it. Well, and
Sorry,
next
guys.
installment of the SCOAS News webcast, we'll all have to be dressed as village people and do our YMCA thing, you know.
I was going more in my head along the lines of the Christmas special or something like that. Yeah.
Think ahead,
So-
that's right.
Think ahead, yes. Christmas is coming. It'll be around the corner anytime.
So is Easter. And did you know that April Fool's Day falls on Easter? So it's going to be so easy this year. You just tell the kids, I've hidden eggs, go and find them, and you don't have to hide them.
Well, yes, no. I think, it's a very dangerous area in which to start playing.
Yeah.
Not sure.
It'll be interesting. I always love April Fool because a lot of the really good tech companies come out with press releases that are obviously just complete rubbish. And sometimes they're so entertaining. So it'd be interesting to see what the drone industry does, if anything.
They'll be probably quite boring and quite easy to see straight through a lot of them.
Well, the computer industry is pretty good at it over the years. And some of the most, like Microsoft's done it and Intel have done it. Some of the big names have done it. And they've done it really well. It's entertaining stuff.
Well,
let's see. We'll do an Easter edition of Ardu Pilots. I'll propose that on the next dev call. Let's do Easter edition.
Ardu Pilot for control line models. That's what you need.
Thank you, Bruce. Can you be the maintainer?
No, it's just, well, you could easily stand. Sorry, this is giving it away. You could easily get the thing to circle, stand in the middle of the circle, and say you've got AI lines, AI control lines, and just stand there going like that with your arm. Yes. I made the little thing I made dropping the deep stall landings at Dunkerswell, which was also the thing that James May flew at. But that's also where I used to fly control line at that that airfield. That's why when I say fly them, what I really mean is where I used to crash them. That's what I really mean. And but yes, control line again, showing my age. Look at the time. We've gone 41 minutes over the time, which is terrible, absolutely terrible. And it's so long that Bruce has even popped out and had to make a cup of tea. So was there anything else really pressing news that anyone saw this week?
No, but I do think that the young lady that was on has come up with an excellent metric for mapping US football fields. I think that's become the new international standard for measurement.
I think it's a good way. It's a good way because Americans don't know square meters.
So Americans don't know metric.
Well,
yep.
Again, another slippery slope on which we find ourselves skating downhill, and the Winter Olympics are over, and we can't be doing that sort of. All the Winter Olympics is sliding down hills, isn't it? It's just sliding down stuff in different. Anyway,
let's keep it like this.
Yes, let's not go down that. A control line die. Yes, Matthew, that is perhaps what that could be. All right. Thanks very much, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world. This has been a weird one this week, but I've enjoyed it. And it's a lot more like our normal after show chat than our normal. Because we normally rant on like this when we finished. So maybe we'll do this again.
You forgot to press the stop button.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks very much, Bruce, for joining and making a cup of tea. Next time it's cups of tea all around, please. I don't take sugar. And Louis as well, thanks to yourself. Dear viewer, we'll see you again 2100 GMT next Tuesday. See what's happened in our droney world. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.